My children weren't invited to Christmas because there wasn't room, but my brother's kids were all over the house. I quietly packed our gifts and left. Hey beautiful people. Before we dive deeper, tell me, where are you watching from? I love seeing how far our little story family reaches across the world. Speech balloon. Don't be shy, drop your country or city in the comments below, and while you're there, let me know what you think about today's story. And hey, if you've made it this far, you might as well hit that like button and subscribe. You know you want to. My name is Sarah, I'm 33, and my two children, Ava, 11, and Liam, 8, had just been quietly uninvited from Christmas at my parents' house. I still don't know how they decided it, or why my brother's 3 kids got to run wild in their living room while mine were left out. 2 weeks before Christmas, my mom sent a short text. Hey, sweetie. We're doing something smaller this year. Just immediate family. Hope that's okay. I stared at it. Immediate family? I am her daughter. So I asked who exactly would be there. After hours of silence, she finally replied. Just Jason and Emily and the kids. It's easier that way. You know how crowded it gets. Jason, my older brother by 2 years, has always been the golden child. Everything about him comes effortlessly, his work, his kids, his charm. Emily, his wife, matches his energy perfectly. Their 3 kids are loud but never seem overwhelming, while Ava and Liam, sensitive and thoughtful, somehow end up labeled too much by my family. Christmas at my parents' house had always been a crowded but cherished tradition. I could remember 11 years of stepping into their over-decorated living room, watching my dad snooze through Elf, nibbling my mom's overcooked ham, pretending it was perfect. But this year, that tradition didn't include my children. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just told myself it wasn't personal, though Nate, my husband, could see my clenched jaw and heavy sighs. He suggested maybe my parents were just overwhelmed. But he's never faced their judgment the way I have. He gets invited everywhere, gets the smiles. I get side eyes when Liam declines a hug or Ava refuses pie. I told Ava and Liam we'd have a quiet Christmas. Just the 4 of us. They were disappointed but accepted it without question. They've learned not to challenge family norms they can't control. On Christmas Eve, I packed the car with gifts for my parents and for Jason's family. Nate drove with me, silently supportive, as I wrestled with the unfairness of it all. Their street was already jammed with cars when we arrived. I should have turned around then. But I walked to the door anyway. The front door was wide open despite the freezing air, and inside, every light blazed. The fireplace crackled, music blasted, and laughter bounced off the walls. Jason's kids tore through the living room while my parents took pictures and my dad poured wine. No room, huh? I turned, packed the gifts back in the trunk, and left. Nate said nothing, and I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. The next morning, I made my own kind of Christmas statement online. I posted a photo of the untouched gifts stacked neatly in our living room, all labeled, all wrapped, and tagged every adult in my family. My caption read, "Funny how some kids get to be the center of Christmas while others get quietly uninvited because there's not enough room. Hope everyone enjoyed the space." We sure did. Just us and the truth this year. Jason texted me within 15 minutes, asking, "What is this about?" I didn't answer. Then Emily sent a string of carefully worded complaints, urging me to speak to my parents instead of airing things publicly. I let that sit too. 3 calls came from my mom. I ignored them. Her voicemail asked me to take it down, claiming I was causing drama and exaggerating. No acknowledgement of Ava or Liam. Not a single word for the children who had just been told they weren't welcome. That night, sitting with Ava and Liam on the floor, we opened the gifts that had returned from the trunk. I didn't speak. I watched how they hesitated with each box, waiting for someone to appear, someone to say, "This was all a mistake." But no one came. 5 years of quietly helping my parents financially flashed in my mind, $400 every month, sometimes more around the holidays, covering prescriptions, groceries, repairs. I never asked for anything in return, never even mentioned it to Nate until that night. It wasn't charity, it was love. And love should have been reciprocal. So I opened my banking app and canceled the recurring transfers. Done. No warnings, no dramatic displays, just quiet, firm consequences. My parents had shown where their priorities lay, and it wasn't with my children. By the next morning, my mom texted again, hoping for a private conversation. My reply was firm, only if Ava and Liam get an apology first. She didn't respond. Messages from cousins started to trickle in, quietly sympathetic. A few expressed confusion at the public post but agreed something was wrong. Meanwhile, Jason and Emily spun the narrative, trying to paint me as overreacting, Yet somehow the evidence of my children's exclusion could not be erased. Weeks passed. My parents' silence was deafening. My children's absence wasn't a mistake, it was deliberate. Yet in our home, we found calm. We celebrated quietly, laughed, and reclaimed our space. For Ava and Liam, I had become the truth teller, the shield against conditional love. Christmas had come and gone, but the lesson lingered: family love should never be selective. And if it was, it would be met with boundaries, not silence. The morning after I posted the photo of the untouched gifts, my phone didn't stop buzzing. Jason was first, texting within minutes, demanding an explanation. Emily followed, sending carefully worded lines that tried to guilt me into removing the post. "This feels unfair to your parents. Maybe talk to them instead of posting online," she wrote. I ignored both. Then came my mom, calling 3 times in a row. I let it ring. The voicemail explained she wanted the post removed, that it was causing unnecessary drama, and that I was blowing things out of proportion. Not a word about Ava or Liam. Not even a hint of apology. That was when I realized the truth: silence and denial were easier for them than admitting wrongdoing. By late morning, I decided to post again. This time, I didn't delete the first one. I wanted the record to show clearly that my children had been excluded. I wrote, "If you want this gone, you'll need to say something real to them. Not to me. You know where to find us." I wasn't trying to shame anyone. I just refused to allow my kids to be invisible in the story of their own family. Not long after, my dad called Nate, not me. He figured Nate would be easier to reason with. They wanted a family discussion to smooth things over. Nate refused. He said we weren't attending a meeting where Ava and Liam would once again be treated as afterthoughts. That evening, we opened the gifts in our living room. I watched the kids carefully, noticing how they hesitated with every present as if expecting someone to appear, someone to tell them it had all been a misunderstanding. But no one came. I had been quietly supporting my parents financially for 5 years, monthly transfers for groceries, prescriptions, small repairs. Love had been my currency, but it had always been silent. That night, I realized love wasn't one-sided. I opened my banking app and canceled the recurring transfers. $400 a month, gone. No dramatics, no threats, just boundaries enforced. I showed Nate the total. His eyes widened. "They needed it," he said. "And we need a family that doesn't lie to our kids." The following days brought more messages. Cousins reached out, sympathizing, saying they'd seen the posts and asking what had happened. They understood immediately. Jason and Emily spun stories about my overreaction, trying to justify the exclusion, but the truth, the piles of untouched gifts, was visible and undeniable. Then came Melanie's message, sent near midnight. Long, polished, clearly rewritten several times. She opened with a feigned concern, "I hope you and the kids are okay," before accusing me of creating confusion. She emphasized narrative and misunderstandings and urged me to delete the posts for the sake of family harmony. Then she added a line that made my stomach turn: "You've always been so generous, especially financially." I'd hate to see resentment destroy what we've all worked to build. As if I'd been some silent business partner instead of a mother protecting her children. As if my years of support were merely expected. I forwarded her message to cousins Aaron and Julia and my Aunt Laura. Their responses were immediate, manipulative, calculated, lacking remorse. I wasn't alone in seeing it. The next day, I replied to Melanie with precision: "My children were excluded. You didn't speak up. Jason didn't speak up. I owe my kids more than I owe this family's image. If it makes people uncomfortable, maybe they should ask why." She never responded. 3 days later, my mom texted again. She wanted a private conversation to leave the past behind. I asked the same question I had been asking for weeks: "Will you apologize to Ava and Liam?" Her response: "I just don't want to say something wrong and make things worse." There it was, silence, not accountability. Not even a minimum acknowledgement for the children who had been erased from Christmas. I told her we were done. No more financial support. No more dropping everything to cover small crises. No more showing up when only half the family was welcome. That decision was heavier than anything I had typed online. It wasn't revenge, it was protection. Weeks later, a white envelope arrived. No return address. Inside was a pastel invitation to Jason and Emily's child's 10th birthday party. A bounce house, face painting, cotton candy machine, all cousins welcome. Ava and Liam were included, as if nothing had ever happened. I stared at it, suspicious. This was performative, a cleanup, a PR effort disguised as inclusion. I told the kids about it. Ava looked puzzled, Liam just blinked. "Why now?" he asked softly. I explained I didn't know. When I confirmed that my parents would be there, Liam lowered his gaze. I don't want to go. And that was it. My children understood what this sudden welcome was worth. I posted the invitation to my Instagram story with a simple caption, no room for them at Christmas, but suddenly there's room at a party. Not buying it. My kids don't need performative love. Comments came fast, but I held firm. Any reconciliation would begin with a real apology to Ava and Liam, not me. The party went on without us. Photos of the celebration appeared online, balloons, face painters, smiling adults holding Jason and Emily's youngest. Ava and Liam were absent from every shot. It didn't hurt, it reinforced my choice. At home, we laughed, built Lego cities, read books, and played board games. We had space, honesty, and peace. The calls and texts continued, mostly trying to salvage appearances, never addressing my children. My parents and siblings still avoided speaking directly to Ava and Liam. But in our home, the lesson was clear: conditional love, when exposed, loses its power. And even if apologies never come, the children will remember. Christmas had ended, but the story was just beginning. Ava and Liam had learned something no one else in the family could teach them: they deserved recognition, truth, and respect, always. And I would never let anyone make them feel invisible again. The weeks after Christmas were quiet at first, but the silence carried weight. My phone buzzed occasionally with distant relatives checking in, hesitant and careful, as if testing waters they hadn't dared wade into before. The messages were sympathetic, some apologetic in tone, others curious about what had really happened. None of them tried to excuse my parents' actions. Jason and Emily were still icy. Not a single attempt to acknowledge Ava and Liam, not even a small note or call to explain why they had been included in Christmas while mine were deliberately left out. Instead, the narrative they spun was about me overreacting, as if highlighting truth online was an overstep. One evening, Emily messaged again, long past midnight. Her words were polished, rehearsed, a calculated blend of concern and guilt-tripping. She began with a faux expression of care, "I hope you and the kids are doing okay," then shifted quickly to criticism. She claimed my posts had created confusion among the younger cousins and were damaging family unity. Then came the manipulative line that left a bitter taste: "You've always been so generous, especially financially." I'd hate to see resentment destroy what we've all worked to build as a family. Generosity as leverage. Years of quiet support, now weaponized as a warning against resentment. I read it 3 times before forwarding it to my cousins Aaron and Julia and my Aunt Laura. Their replies were immediate and validating, manipulative, controlling, and clearly unrepentant. I wasn't alone in seeing what Emily had hoped to disguise. The next day, I responded firmly. I didn't mince words: my children were excluded. You didn't speak up. Jason didn't speak up. I owe Ava and Liam more than I owe this family's image. If anyone is uncomfortable, maybe they should examine why. As for the money, that ended when the lies began. I didn't hear back. 3 days later, my mom texted again. She wanted a private conversation, just the 2 of us, promising to leave the past behind. I repeated the question I had been asking for weeks: will you apologize to Ava and Liam? Her response: I just don't want to say something wrong and make things worse. Classic avoidance. She would rather do nothing than admit wrongdoing, even to children who had been deliberately excluded. I told her it was over. No more financial support. No more surprise Amazon deliveries for forgotten needs, no more showing up when only part of the family was welcome. Boundaries had to be firm. I didn't want to punish them, I wanted to protect my children from being diminished again. Weeks later, a white envelope arrived. No return address. Inside, a pastel, glittered invitation announced a birthday party for Jason and Emily's youngest. Bounce house, face painting, popcorn machine, all cousins welcome. Ava and Liam were included, as if the past few weeks of exclusion had never happened. I recognized the performance immediately. This wasn't inclusion, it was an image, a facade of generosity designed for public consumption. I told the kids about it. Ava seemed confused. Liam asked quietly, "Why now?" I explained I didn't know. When I confirmed my parents would be there, Liam looked down at the floor. "I don't want to go." And that was it. They understood the gesture's worth, or lack thereof. I posted the invitation to Instagram for close friends and family with a caption that summed it up succinctly: no room for them at Christmas, but suddenly there's room at a party. Not buying it. My kids don't need performative love. Comments came fast, but I stood my ground: apologies to Ava and Liam first, not me. The party happened without us. Photos flooded social media, balloons, smiling faces, Jason holding the youngest, everyone posing for the camera. Ava and Liam were absent from every shot. It didn't sting, it confirmed that my children had been given conditional acceptance. At home, we celebrated our own way. We played board games, built Lego cities, read together, and laughed. Our peace was ours alone. Throughout this period, my parents and siblings continued their attempts at control. Calls, messages, and passive-aggressive remarks tried to reclaim the narrative, to paint me as unreasonable. Yet I remained unmoved. I didn't engage in argument or justification, I simply enforced the boundaries that protected my children. I realized something essential during these weeks: love and respect cannot be performed for the sake of appearances. It cannot be conditional, nor selectively applied. Ava and Liam learned an invaluable lesson about worth, boundaries, and the courage it takes to insist on fairness. And I, too, learned that sometimes silence and consistency speak louder than explanations or confrontations. Financial support, physical presence, emotional labor, I had given freely for years. But generosity without reciprocity, without acknowledgement, is not strength, it's vulnerability exploited. Ending the transfers wasn't punishment, it was accountability. Actions, not words, teach lessons. The story of Christmas was no longer about exclusion alone, it had become a lesson in visibility, justice, and resilience. My children's absence at the next family event would speak louder than any social media post. And even if my parents never recognized it, Ava and Liam would remember. They would remember that being treated fairly is not a request, it is a right. By the end of those weeks, peace had settled in our home. The anger and disappointment from Christmas had been transformed into clarity. We had space to celebrate, laugh, and live authentically. The family outside might continue performing, editing reality, and spinning narratives, but inside, the truth had been acknowledged and embraced. My children's experiences, emotions, and worth were validated. That was non-negotiable. And in that quiet, firm enforcement of boundaries, I realized, love that is selective, conditional, or performative is not love at all. Real love demands respect, consistency, and accountability. Ava and Liam would never forget that, and neither would I. By the time spring arrived, the tension with my family had settled into a quiet, almost eerie normalcy. The invitations, the posts, the calls, they had all come and gone. Jason, Emily, and my parents had gone back to their routines, acting as if nothing had happened, but Ava and Liam had already learned the truth. They understood what real inclusion looked like, and what it didn't. The birthday party for Jason's youngest had long passed. Social media still showed photos of balloons, smiling cousins, and extravagant setups, yet my children were absent from every frame. Not one candid, not one forced smile. No mentions, no apologies. It would have stung if I were looking for validation from my family, but I wasn't. My children had something far more valuable: acknowledgement and space to process their feelings with me, their mother, and Nate, who had supported every decision without question. Weeks turned into months. Messages trickled in sporadically, mostly from distant relatives who hadn't witnessed the exclusion firsthand. They asked questions, tried to mediate, or subtly suggest reconciliation. I responded only when necessary, always redirecting focus back to Ava and Liam. Their dignity came first. No amount of guilt-tripping, social pressure, or even pleas for family harmony would replace that. One afternoon, Nate's sister invited us over for a casual dinner. Just us. No pretense, no layered expectations, no whispered critiques. Her children adored Ava and Liam, and there was laughter without judgment. While the kids played, I recounted the entire Christmas saga, including the financial support I had quietly given for 5 years. She listened intently, nodding, asking thoughtful questions, never minimizing the situation. Her one question caught me off guard: why did you keep helping them for so long? I thought about it. At first, the answer seemed simple: they were my parents. They needed help. But somewhere along the way, it had become something else entirely. My contributions were no longer acts of love alone, they had become a silent expectation of loyalty and belonging. I realized that the support I had given, though rooted in love, had inadvertently been treated as payment for acceptance, a lesson as bitter as it was necessary. The truth settled with me slowly but fully. Ava and Liam deserved more than conditional love. They deserved clarity, respect, and the knowledge that they were not invisible, even if certain family members wanted them to be. That knowledge, not presents or appearances, became their inheritance from this ordeal. A few weeks later, my mom texted again. Just one line: we miss the kids. Can we start fresh? No apology, no acknowledgement of the past, just a vague invitation to move forward. I stared at it, fingers hovering over the keyboard. I typed carefully: you can see them when you acknowledge what you did. You don't have to grovel. Just say it to their faces. You were wrong, and they matter. 3 months have passed since that message. No reply. Jason and Emily haven't reached out. My parents have not seen Ava or Liam in person. The silence is absolute, and yet it no longer feels like an absence, it feels like protection. By refusing to engage until accountability is given, I am teaching them that respect is earned through honesty, not assumed by blood alone. During this time, I have observed subtle shifts. Ava reads more confidently, knowing her worth is not tied to approval from others. Liam asks questions without fear of dismissal, understanding that being small or quiet does not diminish his voice. Their resilience is becoming evident in everyday moments, how Ava carefully sets the table without needing praise, how Liam shares toys and games without seeking permission. They have internalized a powerful lesson: love is real when it is consistent, not conditional. We continue our own family traditions quietly but meaningfully. Nate grills in the backyard even when it's chilly, board games fill our evenings, and Lego cities rise with no interruptions. The joy in our home is free from judgment and posturing. We celebrate what matters: connection, laughter, and the acknowledgement of each other's presence and feelings. Social media occasionally reminds me of the world outside our bubble. Photos from parties, birthdays, and holiday gatherings appear, showing smiling relatives and elaborate decorations. Ava and Liam are absent from every shot of those orchestrated moments, yet they are present in ways that truly matter, unseen by many, but fully seen by the people who love them unconditionally. I scroll once, pause, and log out. There is no need for confrontation. Our peace is already intact. The lesson of that Christmas, and the months after, is clear: love cannot be performed for appearances, and generosity cannot be assumed as a currency for compliance. Boundaries, consistency, and accountability are not harsh, they are protective, essential for fostering trust and respect. Ava and Liam carry this knowledge with them, a shield against manipulation and a map for navigating relationships with integrity. In our home, we have reclaimed the story. Christmas, the birthday party, the posts, they are no longer about exclusion or anger. They are about understanding, resilience, and the hard-won realization that family is not defined by proximity or convenience but by actions, honesty, and respect. The story my parents wanted to control is already cracking. They may never admit their mistakes. They may never offer apologies that fully recognize the hurt inflicted. But Ava and Liam remember everything. They remember the absence, the silence, and the truth of our choices. And in remembering, they are strong. In remembering, they are seen. In remembering, they are safe. For me, that is the closure we needed. Not through forgiveness extracted, not through appearances corrected, but through the unwavering protection of the children I love most. Love is no longer conditional in our home. It is steadfast, visible, and true. And even if my parents never acknowledge it, the photographs they post, the invitations they send, the celebrations they stage, all of it now reflects something very different. Those images show who is missing. And Ava and Liam will always know why. What do you think about this story? Do you agree with how Sarah handled the situation, or would you have done things differently? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you.